welcome back.
Welcome back to Inspiration Education.
You guys can wave too, it's okay.
You may be thinking, what in the world is going on here?
This is great.
This episode is going to be about, what we have here a handful of our seniors at Desert Christian High School, and we asked them last night, and here they are, which is why half of them are in gym clothes right now. We asked them last night if they would be willing to come and sit down with us and discuss what it's like to come back to school in the COVID world.
Right, we wanted to hear their perspectives from their eyes. What is it like to re-enter into school in person?
Teach your kids to love to learn, and they will learn to love to live in a world where there's so much to learn through Inspiration Education.
So for me, the first question that I wanted to ask for everyone is, do you have any fears going back into the school year, or do you not have any fears in this COVID world? What do you guys think?
Maybe a fear in the back of my mind is getting shut down again. Like we start school and like we're getting going, and then it's like, oh, it's like we're going back to online school, which would be really depressing since we just started school again. So
COVID, of course, is definitely going to be a fear this year. And I know you said we're trying to not think about it as much, but it's also as important to think about it because we are in this new time and new era of wearing masks.
So talk about then what was it like to do online classrooms for, March 20th until May, and then, you were saying you have a fear that we might go back into that. What does that feel like for you guys?
Speaking from my personal experience, I felt like my quality of education was kind of robbed. I know my teachers tried their hardest to do the best for their students, but it was a really hard transition, especially when we couldn't even prepare because it was just kind of sprung on us. And so it was this new thing that we were trying to experiment with and finish out our year, and for me, I feel like I lost out on a lot of valuable learning experiences that I'm gonna have to make up for at some point.
Nothing can replace in-classroom learning. No matter how hard you try, whether it's Zoom or Google Chat or whatever, nothing's gonna replace the teacher-student relationship in the classroom. And that was kind of something that was difficult for me because I have good relationships with my teachers and I want to see them and learn in the classroom. But online, there's that barrier.
I would agree because it just made it so much harder in the classrooms that we usually have mostly discussion and less online responses. It was kind of hard to shift from having discussions and Socratic seminars every day to fully online and trying to figure out how that would work.
It was also really hard for AP students. I feel like College Board did make their best effort to help us get the credit that we had been working towards all year, and they at least gave us the opportunity, but I feel like the new test format and taking it from home and still having to learn everything just on your own, then I feel like I could have done so much better and could have seen more results and learned a lot more, but didn't get a good outcome of my AP experience at the end of last year too. So it makes me fearful to take AP classes this year because I'm like, well, I'm gonna work so hard and might not even get what I signed up for.
What are some things that your teachers need to know as we start the school year in person, but maybe have to transition?
I think that the key point is for teachers to have communication with them themselves because they don't understand the workload we have.
From teacher to teacher, you mean?
Yes,
okay.
Teacher to teacher, because we would, on one day, we would have all this homework due, and the next day we would have nothing. And it felt like we were drowning.
Yeah, there were definitely days when if you just looked at your Google Calendar, it would be 6 assignments due Wednesday through Thursday or Friday, and then the next week there's almost nothing due, and you're staring at it like, how do I get all this done? Like, are the teachers not communicating or what? Because like, you shouldn't have 7 assignments to do within like 3 days. Definitely teachers could communicate better on that. Yeah.
Right, and I definitely think that for the different, like every school subject is important, but definitely like for like math and the ones that take a little extra like mental capacity, like I would say stress the importance of like those ones instead, because I find that a lot of the teachers would assign busy work.
How do you guys feel about coming back to an in-person school versus, because I know that like our public school system here in Tucson, Arizona, they're doing an all online curriculum, at least for the foreseeable future. So we're one of the, like you were saying, Alexa, we're one of the few schools that are opening in person. What do you guys think about that? Do you think that's a good decision, a bad decision? What do you think?
In-person learning has to be one of the best ways, if not the best way to learn, because you're right there. If like, you don't have to call the teacher, the teacher's right there, you can ask a question, you'll probably get an answer within a couple seconds. I mean, online just doesn't compare. So
Thank you for affirming our job security, right? Some people have said, oh, online's gonna replace teachers, and I'm like, no, it's not. So thank you, Michael.
Along with that, I definitely feel like the communication, because if I had a question about an assignment or I was struggling, I had to like, email the teacher, and then it might be like a day before I get a response, or if like I need help from someone else, I'd like have to text them. But then if they were doing something where I was in class, like, you can work with a partner right then and there and like struggle through it together, and you can like ask the teacher right then. And it's just so much harder when you're so far away from everybody and you just kind of feel like isolated, like I don't know what to do, I'm just staring at the screen.
Yeah, I definitely ask like a lot of questions, and whenever I'm like, especially in math, like math was like the hardest class for me to do online, because I constantly am asking questions and like verifying things, like even if it's not like how do I do this, or like I'm just like, is this the right way kind of thing. And so I get really discouraged because I'll be like, I can email my teacher on like this little question on this problem and wait maybe like a couple hours for a response, but by then I'm already like, screw it, like I don't want to do it. So I'm just
I really liked online school because it gave me an opportunity to finish school and schoolwork all in 3 or 4 hours versus the full 7 or 8 that I would have spent here. And also, I think the entire like March to May, I only did 3 Zoom calls, and I don't know who like planned these. Like it was my English teachers, and then you had a Zoom call, but nobody else scheduled them. And I think that if we did do those, even though they kind of suck, but like they're as close as we can get to like in person, like back then. I think that would have definitely helped with like missing everybody and like I guess getting all the work done and maybe like getting taught in person.
We do have a mask policy and that kind of thing. What do you guys think about some of those policies as you heard them and they were given to you? What were your thoughts?
I personally at first had a little grumble about it, like wearing a mask all day, like that just sounds like a big headache. But when I think about the privilege that we have to go back in person, which to me is very valuable, to some it might not be, which Desert has given people kind of the choice to be online. So I'm like, if I had the privilege to go back and be in person and all it requires of me is wearing a mask and just being a little more aware of taking the proper safety precautions, then yeah, I feel like I can do that.
I don't mind wearing a mask if it's gonna help. Like I'm looking more towards the overall outcome than the right now moment.
What are your thoughts on shields? How comfortable are you with those? Do you feel they're effective, non-effective? What's your perception or perspective on that?
A shield is probably more effective than the mask simply because of the material that it's made out of. And I would rather wear a shield than a mask. So
when people talk in masks, I'm always like, I literally cannot understand anything you're saying. So I think if teachers have like shields, like you were saying you ordered one, I think that would be very beneficial, because I like to like, I think everyone like reading lips when someone is talking, like that's kind of like where you look, so it kind of helps understand what they're saying, and then the quality of teaching like
be better?
I've been regularly using Shields because I've been going in person to my voice lessons, and like emotion is such a big thing that like, you know, I've been working on, especially with acting. So like Shields are so much better when you can actually see what the person is like saying and like what the person is feeling, so you could really feel like you would really know the emotion in the room.
Some schools are doing it where the students stay in the classroom and the teachers rotate.
It depends on who I have in my class.
Having like the same people in your class, like just using you two as an example, but like my freshman year I didn't have any classes with them, and I don't think I talked to them like ever, like maybe like once. But then like as soon as we started like, you know, deciding what classes we were gonna take, and like senior year now we have like all our classes together and we're like best friends. So like yeah, I just think like if it was like the same people all the time, you wouldn't like branch out.
I have some classes with like in my AP Lit class, there's like juniors in that class too. So I think that's important, having different grades, being able to bond with the other classes instead of like just your people, the people in your class.
Yeah, it's hard to be leaders on campus if no one would see us leading, especially like our freshman buddies. Like we're just like, oh, like we could. I mean, I guess we could like text them like, "How was your day?" But like you're never gonna like see them, interact with them, or kind of like be someone that they can talk to if you guys can't interact.
Knowing that you're speaking to other students out there as well, not just teachers, what do you have that you want to say to them about entering the school year again? Is there any words of encouragement or anything like that that you want to impart, anything that's on your heart?
Have a trust in the people that are administration, teachers, people that are trying to take care of you, and just try and put your best foot forward, because in a bad situation, you're only going to make it worse by having a bad attitude, not trying to get the best out of the situation.
Your attitude and just like your thoughts and like your view, I guess, kind of like seeps out and affects anyone around you. So I think even if it is like over text and you're texting people just like, oh my gosh, this sucks, like no person is gonna be like, no, you're so wrong, this is amazing. Like it'll like seep even like through the phone, like even more so in person.
I feel like it'd be super easy, especially for seniors, to kind of throw a pity party for ourselves. Like we're being completely robbed of our senior year, like we don't get to do this and that and whatever. But I think kind of the same thing, choosing to instead have a good attitude and choose joy and just making the best out of the situation. And I think a way we can really be really good leaders is to show the younger classes that we're still going to have a really fun and enjoyable year, and we're not going to let it get us down.
We need to get over our pride, like I don't want to wear a mask, like that's dumb. Like no, like you need to realize that there are people around you who think otherwise, and just like being courteous and putting your pride aside and like putting others in like before yourself.
This whole COVID thing, it's not something that I'm just dealing with or Michael's dealing with. It's something that the whole entire world is dealing with. And just, be patient with yourself and just know that there's other people who feel the same way.
Every day I am encouraged by our generation. If you think about it, the last time our country maybe went through something like this was World War II. Coming out of World War II, did we not refer to that generation as the greatest generation?
I believe so. Don't quote me on that.
All right. So I would pose to you that this is the next up and coming greatest generation, because you guys, because you guys are going through something very difficult. You guys are going to be building some resiliency where you will be the next greatest generation. You will have a lasting impact. I'm excited for your generation. And when I hear you guys speak this morning, that is what I think of. Is the good that comes out of that.
I kind of, as you're saying that, something I think of is rather than thinking of this new student body as victims, they're almost like superheroes.
Amen. Yeah,
Wow.
That's good.
That's pretty cool. That's another episode of Inspiration Education. And
Thanks for joining us.
Yep, we'll be back next time. Bye.